Do we got a release date for patch 11.1.5? I've been talking about it. I've been saying April 22nd for a little while now, based on the numbers. I think Children's Week, I also calculated that out. I was pinpointing that date as the release date. A lot of people said, Sam, that's too soon. And to those people, I said, follow Sam, and you'll be brought to the promised land. Let's see. New patch in 3 weeks. Let's see what Bellular has to say about the new unreleased nerfs, interestingly enough, and how Blizzard lets slip the next WoW patch release date. Okay, in 3 weeks. Interesting. Let's see this.
Welcome back to the Warcraft News, everyone. Today, we've actually got a lot to talk about. So, there's a release date for patch 11.1.5. It's not official, but it is kind of official. That's because Blizzard have actually announced that on April 22nd, guild name changes are moving out of the shop and coming into the game, where they're going to cost 200k gold.
Congratulations on your orgasm!
Damn it, I left blurps on, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And this is why I can't leave them on, because my chat's filled with degens. Thank you very much, Cadence, for that one. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. So April 22nd, yeah, we already know this is a feature. Guild name changes going to off the Blizzard shop, and now we're gold. Yeah, from gold to the Blizzard shop, I should say. That's a feature of the patch. Oh, interestingly enough, on April 22nd. As I said.
Real money. Now, that's actually one of the advertised features of this patch, which basically means the patch will be almost definitely going live that very week. And if that's not enough evidence for you, there's actually more. The patch is also bringing a Children's Week update.
This is what I used.
Children's Week starts the very same reset on the 28th. So
this was literally the version that I used. So it said, if you remember it was the old splash screen. I believe they changed it since then. But the old splash screen said Children's Week will begin soon or shortly or whatever. It was like predicting that Children's Week hadn't happened yet, but was going to happen. Children's Week was meant to start on the 28th of April, so I had said, okay, then the patch must go live the week before, which was April 22nd.
On the 28th.
The
so
logic.
In under a month, we'll have an entire new patch. It actually does have quite a lot to do. We'll finally be able to get the missing purple Arathi set that looks pretty awesome, but unfortunately, there is a little bit of a concern. Don't worry too much, though, because we got the backing of today's sponsor. Squarespace, who are awesome because they just let you get the job done right. Whenever I needed a job site and a game landing page, I went to Squarespace because they just made my life easy. It's fast, cross-device, all while looking fantastic. You, of course, have got their award-winning templates to get started with, but even better, their new design intelligence and Blueprint AI guides you through building your own template.
Nice.
It is amazing. You come out at the end with something that's really quite impressive. Then you've got the block-based editor that is super easy to use, and that makes crafting your site so simple. And if you want even more control, Fluid Engine is a game changer that lets you do just that and granularly move elements in your site, but in a way that doesn't make it all explode on mobile, which is great. Basically, everybody should have a killer site that represents them. A good first impression helps you with jobs or even just hosting your portfolio or perhaps your side hustle. And if you are doing business, they have got you covered. Their e-commerce solutions will handle digital products, physical products.
I'm going to make a website for my Furry Forge company.
Make all that dead simple. They support courses. They support bookings, be those in person, online, any of that, and they have a host of other features to help you succeed, like recently having proper native video that works with their memberships and their e-commerce pipeline. It's all amazing. So you can get started today at squarespace.com/bellulargaming. You can build your site with a free trial and then send it live with 10% off your first purchase of a site or domain with code BellularGaming.
Use the man's code. There it is.
This patch launch may not be a massive deal. So Nightfall is coming. That's the world content, and it's solid enough catch-up world content you can do in Hallowfall. But the other major features, the ones that I honestly find exciting, those are probably a bit later. As an example, Horrific Visions are actually flagged on the PTR as a world event with a start date of May 20th.
Wow.
Now, that may just be a placeholder, but without solid confirmation that it'll be there.
That'd be horrible. What the hell? That's the main feature of the patch. What do you mean it's not going to drop for a month until after the patch launches? What the hell are we going to do for a month? What? That would be very disappointing. I think that was a mistake, or maybe they're going to fix it. For 1 month, we're going to do nothing but Nightfall shit, like open world Nightfall shit. That's the only other mechanic thing going on in this patch. What the hell?
As a day one feature, I do think we should assume the worst. Though
I guess maybe the other thing is that that new single player Brawlers Guild-esque thing, but still, Jesus, the literally Horrific Visions are the only exciting thing about this patch.
I can at least allay your fears a little bit. So here's the splash screen. It's been data mined, and it says coming soon for Dastardly Duos. Now, we do know that Dastardly Duos is a world event, but it does not say coming soon for Horrific Visions.
Right.
And then when you take a look at the achievements, we see the new Horrific Visions ones are classified as an expansion feature, I suppose, other than an event. And on top of that, it's got extremely lucrative awards that are tied to the
I would just chalk it up to a mistake then, because that made absolutely... I think Blizzard would just delay the patch. Why the hell would they launch the patch without its main feature? That'd be crazy. So I think that it was a mistake, very clearly, based on this
current season, as well as being fairly time-consuming and challenging to fully complete. So with all of that in mind, Horrific Visions being a time-limited world event would honestly make absolutely zero sense. I think it would be a fairly bad idea. Now, there is a world where a staggered launch could kind of make sense. It's something that Final Fantasy XIV does, but I'd certainly say it does that to mixed results. So, in a way, in theory...
technically every new season is a staggered launch because we get the opening season of quests and the new zone, if there is one, and then the raid and everything else doesn't open for a week, so technically that's a staggered launch as well. And then you got LFR kind of staggering out for another 3 to 4 weeks, actually. So we do staggered launches in WoW. It's just not with the main piece of content for a 0.5 or 0.7 patch. That'd be kind of ridiculous because those patches already lack content for it to start.
Can be a good tool, staggering things to make sure that people don't miss content, or even to get a partial patch out earlier than usual to buy extra dev time for the other features. But I think for World of Warcraft, it's just not what we're used to, right? And I think if they do it here with Horrific Visions, it would be a mistake. The patch says Horrific Visions on the box. I think it should be there when we get the update, and WoW players are all too familiar with the idea of logging into a patch, especially a big new major patch, on day one, and within 4 hours finding, oh, there's not really a thing to sink my teeth into. I think repeating that with this would really be quite the miss for them. Anyway, that's what we know for now. So April 22nd for Nightfall, and I would say probably Horrific Visions. Blizzard, please make that a definitely and give people an announcement. And of course also the guild name change for Gold, if that's what you want. Though, speaking of Horrific Visions, Blizzard have confirmed that they're fixing the enchant issue. This is a very big one, and it's good that they're making a fix. So originally, right, Blizzard planned to add the old corruption effects from Battle for Azeroth as weapon enchants. Now, if you weren't there, they were...
this was right when I read this, I was like, what the hell? What are Death Knights going to do? That's all I play. Now I can't do my rune enchant? That doesn't... obviously, I'm going to keep the rune enchant. That means I can't use this.
These honestly crazy cool effects, right? And they made patch 8.3 hilariously busted. And I say that in an almost good way. They were sometimes so powerful and broken that it was really fun. So,
you guys remember the 40-man tank raid? Or sorry, 30-man tank raid? That was great. People, they were doing the current raid with 30 tanks because the corruption effect was like off healing everybody. The more damage they did, the more healing they did. It was wild to watch. Those were fun days.
The prospect of getting them back was
underrated.
Pretty exciting. Except that, as an example, them being enchants made no sense. If they were weapon enchants, then Death Knights would be entirely left out, and they would of course be competing with the existing weapon enchants in the game.
Yeah.
Then Blizzard decided to consider them as embellishments, but I mean, we can immediately think of a few downsides there. So ultimately,
you gotta look it up,
to add them into the game as head enchants instead. What that does mean then is that when the patch rolls around, get ready for a huge boost in power. You will have to hit up a few Horrific Visions to unlock them, but when you do, you can slap them on your head and you can go and absolutely blast things. Obviously, we'll need to see how the balance is, but it could be fairly fun. But certainly, with that new power and the rate of nerfs that we've seen, quite a lot of Mythic Plus could just be holding W and putting out massive numbers.
There's more nerfs going live today. More nerfs to Priory of the Sacred Flames. So, I mean, it's great. It's a good time to play WoW, Mythic Plus at least. I do got to get more into it. I'm still lacking on this season because I'm just raid progressing right now. But I'm definitely diving into Mythic Plus more this season. Have you seen the new Razer headset? It's designed for boomers like you. No, link it in the chat.
Not really worrying about the timer until you get that high. We really need to talk about Mythic Plus, and we've actually got a video coming out real soon about that, but there's stuff to mention now. The short version of things is that Blizzard have just taken the limiter off their nerf bat. So in a wave of hotfixes after this week's reset, they've actually went and nerfed Mythic Plus stuff even more.
Yeah.
Now, it's actually not like the huge sweeping nerfs that we've seen before. It's more targeted changes to find rough spots in dungeons and make them easier. Things like, say, adding a line marker to Dark Winds, increasing Bone Spear's cast time, and reducing Giga Zap's tank buster.
Yeah, one of their favorite things to do with Mythic Mythic Plus this season is nerf cast times. Like extend the duration of cast times. I understand it. For one, it is like a soft nerf on all the mobs because they're casting less. But it also is a buff to players' interruption mechanics, right? More players can interrupt. It makes the whole interrupt process easier. So I think that's why it's their favorite go-to.
Damage by 40%. Yeah, 40. It's a hell of a lot. Now, this is basically them all targeting problem areas so that they're smoothing out the difficulty curve, basically so you're not killed by a surprise spike in difficulty or a bad overlap. And this is a bit of a growing trend. Blizzard are trying to make Mythic Plus basically less frustrating. So how do you keep something being hard but also less frustrating? I think the overall way is to have the difficulty increase as you're doing harder and harder and harder keys, but for it to increase in a way that feels fairly smooth, and within the dungeons, to not have random spikes where it feels like something is just harder than intended. So,
right. That's why people hate affixes so much, or have at least hated affixes. I don't think affix mechanics are a bad thing. But the issue with them is they just kind of created spikes in difficulty where you go from like a 6 to a 7 or whatever, and all of a sudden you have this new mechanic that was literally developed just to make everything more difficult and annoying, and it's suddenly applied, and now your +7 is infinitely harder than the 6 was. That's the problem, I feel like, with affixes in general. And it created like a less smooth process for leveling up Mythic Plus dungeons.
It really seems that's mostly what they're doing.
Make it smooth.
So far, I'd say
people will enjoy it.
Quite successful. This is something I didn't expect. The Darkmoon Faire has been in WoW for almost 20 years, since patch 1.6 in July 2005. Now, they gave it a major revamp in Kata, they moved it to the Darkmoon Island, but to this day, we've never found out more about it. And that really is weird. They also put more mystery into it with the unique Warlock questline added in Dragonflight, but we still don't know what Silas Darkmoon's connection to the old gods is. It's kind of weird, and there definitely is a connection. I mean, just open your eyes. Now, where this is news is that the April trading post is actually Darkmoon themed, and there's some real cool stuff. We've got the topsy-turvy mask set that gives us both Old Gods and Arakoa vibes. We've got the violent Darkmoon charger mount, looks pretty awesome too. And those have got me thinking about the Darkmoon Faire. Something's bound to be coming. And that's because if midnight is the end of the great battle between light and void, then we're running out of time for Blizzard to reveal the truth. That, I guess, Silas Darkmoon is a secret old god, or whatever it is. Basically, Silas has been up to something really sus. We don't know what it is. They've hinted at it for a long-ass time.
Is it Dreadlord?
And, well, with midnight coming, they actually need to give us answers, because that whole struggle is going to be over soon. Well, I gotta say, this is music to my ears. If there was ever any doubt the Season of Discovery Phase 8 is basically Classic Plus, it's gone now. Blizzard have even added around 30 minutes of brand new music to the Scarlet.
I actually listened to some of this music. Some of it's really, really freaking good. But here's the thing. Blizzard missed the boat on Season of Discovery. I feel like had they just named it Classic Plus, literally, just the name. Whoever the fuck did marketing at Blizzard for this thing absolutely sucks. Had they just named it Warcraft Plus or Classic Plus, I feel like it would have been so much more hyped. I feel like so many more people would have played it, and it just would have been it would have been a more exciting and news-filled event. When they launched it as Season of Discovery, a lot of people were like, "What? This sounds like Classic Plus. It looks like Classic Plus, but they're not calling it that, so it must not be Classic Plus." And it literally led to so much confusion, and in fact, they are putting so much work into it that it is Classic Plus. They're literally adding new content to old Classic. I just think they missed the boat on naming it the way they did.
Enclave. So that's just them going
Season
and doing
of Classic
dev
Andes,
stuff.
yeah.
I think that's pretty sweet. And they've also, made another reference to the Scarlet Heavy Phase 8 being the final chapter, right? So the end of Season of Discovery. And that's kind of got us all thinking, what's going to be next? Now, quite literally speaking,
maybe they will call it Classic Plus.
Of course, depending on the success of the Anniversary Realm, there could be a fresh Season of Discovery, do the job.
But it's not Classic Plus. But then what is Classic Plus supposed to be? I thought Classic Plus was supposed to be the continuation of the story in Classic WoW. Like, not changing up the mechanics, not adding new classes or anything, as like just keeping Classic as it is, but continuing with the story. What the hell is a new Scarlet Monastery raid if not continuing with the story? They're literally continuing the story of Classic. Well, it's Classic Plus. That's what I would think. Now, they're saying, okay, this is the end of Season of Discovery. Maybe they're going to switch the name up and actually call it Classic Plus now, because that's really what it is, but we'll see.
Do the journey. Again, they could totally do that. I imagine it wouldn't be too hard to do that. And there are opportunities in doing that. So much of Season of Discovery was basically made as they went along and responded to feedback. If they wanted to, they could pretty much do it fresh, but work into their new version of it all of the things that they've learned, which would then let a lot of people who have missed out on it kind of experience it all again as it unfolds. That can include the low-level raids, the rune unlock quests that were real cool. But of course, there is the other option to develop even more Classic-like content and fully make it Classic Plus. I really hope they do that. And I've got to say that strategically, a move like that does make a hell of a lot of sense. I mean, how many seasons and various different classic things can we have all going on at once? It will kind of get confusing. I mean, we got Classic Mists of Pandaria. Are we going to do Classic WoD? Like, where does this end? And it also seems that Cataclassic hasn't exactly been the most hyped thing in the universe. I continually actually get...
surprised. I mean, I was surprised. I was shocked they even did Classic Cata. I mean, give us Classic WoD and Classic Shadowlands, why don't you? I don't know why this was even a thing and how they didn't predict that this was going to be, not as popular.
Messages from people
Classic
about it being
Shadowlands,
full of bugs. It just makes me wonder, will they try to consolidate a lot of this into its own product? I think if they do that and they focus on the sort of nuts and bolts of Azeroth,
to me, anything beyond Wrath of the Lich King, the best way to revisit it is in a remix event. Those remix events are really cool. They do make it feel new. They're a great way to level up alts, great way to get some cool gear and transmog and everything else. Those are the ways we should revisit these other expansions beyond Wrath of the Lich King, because let's be honest, you got the original 3, and then after that, it's not a nostalgia pull anymore. It's just, old WoW at that point.
World of Warcraft, great for such a long time, that they could be onto a true winner. I mean, take a look at OSRS. There are examples of this thing working. Okay, time for an update on what's basically the sort of Blizzard successor, Dreamhaven. I say that because Mike Morhaime left Blizzard years and years ago.
There's an update from Dreamhaven?
Dreamhaven, and so far, not really that much has been shown, especially not internally developed stuff.
Yeah.
This week, though, that has actually changed. Now, we've already heard of Secret Doors game called Sunderfolk, which is basically what if D&D combat was like basically Jackbox, the party multiplayer game. So that's kind of cool, and we've actually got a release for it, and that release is next month, April 23rd. That's real quick. But then they finally dropped what the other studio called Moonshot are doing. They're making a game called Wildgate. It's a PvP extraction shooter. I know, many eyeballs have just rolled. It's set in space. It is doing some neat things, though. So you've got 20 players in 5 teams of 4 who will scout a map, secure an objective. You'll be fighting both with on-foot, first-person combat, and then ship-based combat. And you're not just doing regular combat. You're doing things like, refueling, repairing, upgrading your ship, of course, finding gear that will increase your chance of victory, all that stuff. It looks like it has potential, and from what I've heard from playtesters, they're really quite buzzed about it.
Not my cup of tea. I don't know. I just, any game where you're constantly upgrading and building out, to me, by the end of the game, okay, however long the game lasts, 30 minutes, you've upgraded everything to the max, you win the match. The feeling of starting over again in the next match has never been appealing to me. I think that's why I like MMOs so much, because I feel like it's a state of constant progression. Those kinds of games where there's like all of a sudden this regression every single match, I don't like it.
A bit of me thinks, okay, saturated games market, how are you actually going to get players for that? Which does seem like a tall order, but core game design, you know what? Fair play. It actually seems they've tried to shoot for a fantasy. And at least for now, that is the Warcraft news, but there's a lot more to talk about, and if you want a taste of dastardly duos, well, check out this video next.
Yeah, all right, not bad. April 22nd. Surprise, surprise, Samiccus was right. April 22nd is the release date, guys. I keep telling you that. It's going to happen, and it also follows the 8 weeks. I mean, imagine that they've been hitting us with.